Association.
You get a sash with that?
I still remember.
Yeah. No raise though.
Yeah.
So welcome council to this meeting of October 24th. We will call the meeting to order and move forward with the agenda.
I have a mover second. And Champagne.
Here.
The draft is agenda presented to council and dated the 24th day of October 2023 be adopted as prepared.
Favor? They all carry. Accepting the minutes of the previous meetings.
Mover in a second, please. Deputy Mayor Roy Akers and Councillor Trahan. The minutes of the regular council meeting of October 10th, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
In favor? Thank you so much. Any business arising from the minutes?
I would like to bring something forward.
Yes, go ahead.
Last time, Councillor Kelly brought forward the concerns about electronic voting. And I thought that was a good time to have a discussion about our next election. To give the Madam Clerk some time to look at options for the voting process. So I was wondering if at the next session, sorry, put that away. At the next meeting, if we could put on the agenda to have a direction for Madam Clerk to look at different voting processes. Would that be possible?
Man, okay. I mean, I was surprised actually, if I may say so myself, when the issue came forward, because the elections are still 3 years.
Everyone's away.
So I thought we're pretty here. Go on.
And I thought, like, when I was looking at things, there's trainings, there's things that are coming up, there might be, I don't know, right? So it might take it gives her time to look at this and have things ready for the 2026 budget. So I just thought, since it was brought up, maybe have that discussion about it.
Wait, certainly one of the first items of business is to identify, is to specify what are Madame Clerk's responsibilities when it comes to elections. To a large extent, under the municipal act, the clerk is responsible for putting on the elections. And however, when the issues of online voting did come forward in municipalities, and there were councils that were involved in some of the discussions. And so I would suggest that as a first order of business, that we let Madame Clerk take the time to familiarize herself with her duties and understand, and maybe at our next meeting, she could come forward with specifying how she sees work moving forward. So to your point, Deputy Mayor Akers, we would have an item on the agenda, which would stem from Madame Clerk's review of what her duties are and how she would see moving forward. Would that be appropriate with council? Wait, okay. So I see there's to that recommendation, 2 comments. I see Councillor Champagne and then Councillor Tran.
My only issue with that is you take a look at it, but I mean, at the other hand too, it's 3 years away, and maybe you should look at other municipalities that did it and see what kind of bugs they ran into and what the costs are before we jump on board and say, yeah, this is going to work or not going to work. I'm sure there's been issues, smaller municipalities with this. So let's find out what the costs are and what issues they were.
Thank you, Councillor Champagne. Councillor Tran.
Yeah, good comment, Councillor Champagne. I was just gonna say is, why don't we let our new clerk complete this year? And also endorse the mayor's comments with regards to their duties and gets a good handle of it. And then maybe in the beginning of the new year, maybe start that, but I mean, close off, because I would imagine Carrie's going to be pretty hectic and busy to close off the remainder of this year, and plus the other stuff we have on our plate for this year. Just a thought, just to kind of not overload too much, because we do have time. That's all. There's
Yeah, and just about the online, and I just wanted to see, because it was brought up, giving a directive that gives her time, 2 years, to think about it if that's what her role is. And the thing is that there's just not online voting, right? Can be mail-in, there can be telephone. So when I was doing some looking at this, back in 2018, I think it was 44% had different options for voting for their electorate. In 2022, it was 57. So people are looking at how do we get the vote out? How do we give people option? So it doesn't just have to be online voting, because that could be problematic. Because there's been down in Las Vegas, and then yesterday, Windsor hospitals were just hacked. So, yeah, so there's issues, but it's sort of looking at how do we create options for our electorate, because.
And the thing is too, we had just over 20%, I want to say 22, but it was a very low number for people for voter turnout. And I know this system here is quite pricey. So, and it can get pricey. So if you start looking at what's it going to be costing, I know it's going to be quite
And I know
expensive.
some of the issues that we brought up in classes, because if you were to go in like in the wintertime, you're in another country. You can't access because they don't know who you are unless you're actually in Canada. So that's into a problem too. That's why we got proxies, right? So.
So we all agree that it's important to ensure that we do everything we can to have a good turnout in our municipality. And we do want to have the very best elections. I think that that's a given. And so we do agree that is that's new in her position, time is required to familiarize herself with that. And so, and I will come back. I don't think we're set on time, but we're starting early. We'll have the opportunity to review. So if everyone is comfortable with that, we've got it on our list of actions. And as soon as you are ready to come forward and bring that discussion, we would leave it with her with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Just so there's a bit of an understanding, I guess council's intention is to increase voter turnout.
Yeah.
So is it the clerk coming forward with means of increasing voter turnout?
So I should let Councilor Kelly speak.
I've talked to a few people about this, other politicians and so forth, and my attitude, quite frankly, is if people have a problem, they show. If they're voting against something, they're against, they show. If everyone's happy with the way things are going, the tax rate, what's going on in the municipality, you're gonna get low voter turnout. The other thing I know of when I first started, which is some time ago, that if the mayor's position is up in question, in other words, there's 2 or 3 people voting for mayor, you can double the voting turnout. When it's councillors and the mayor is appointed, you can cut the voter turnout in half. But bottom line is, if people are happy, they'll continue on with the status quo and you'll get a low voter turnout. So that's the way I interpret it. It's open to interpretation. Everybody has their own thoughts.
Yeah, and I think this is like a wide, in other words, for our clerk, it's to say what's required in order to put on the elections that are required, as we've always done in these states. And so how do we continue to do that? There has been some, innovation in the world of elections in terms of the use of technology for certain things, both at a municipal level, at a provincial level. So it's an opportunity for her to look at that and it may not be online voting, as you point out, Deputy Mayor Ruakers. So at this point, no, it's just to say we want a quality election. Quality election means well-run, good turnout, rapid return, all of those elements that form a good election.
And everybody can vote that is able to vote.
Yes, make it accessible.
Right.
All of those elements. Yes.
So like our seasonal people usually leave, so they can't vote. So if it's a paper ballot, so we have to give everybody options.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, very good.
That's good.
Anyway, good discussion. And so thank you for both of you, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Kelly, for bringing it forward. Any questions or comments from your end?
Okay. That happens a lot.
Yep.
But it's important democracy. And I mean, certainly that's what we're aiming for, is a good democratic process. Any other items arising from minutes? Declarations of conflict of interest?
I declare and I've signed the paper as well. I've got I think it's item number 17, and I'll just remove myself during the vote in Ken. Thank you.
I also declare a conflict on, with respect to, in the recommendations from the Recreation Parks and Culture Committee, there's a resolution there. And so I declare a conflict on that as well. And other declarations of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest thereof. Chair's comments. I simply want to mention before, because I don't want to keep it for the end. And I think we'll touch on the great event that was held last week by the firefighters and emergency group. But I do want to mention the Halloween because it is coming up. And so quickly, Councillor Tran, would you want to quickly say a word on Halloween and
Wait till the committee reports and proceed.
okay, yeah, you want, okay, but me then I'd like to touch on the November Remembrance Day, if I not keep it till the end. Our Remembrance Day, I know we mentioned it last time, was on Friday, that's November 10th at 10:30. Okay, so remember that, and the public, everyone is invited to our cenotaph and November 10th. So say Bob.
Need to get a little heads up this time, where we're supposed to be and all that stuff, so we're all walking around in circles
Okay, yes.
for a half hour.
Yes, I'll send out an email a couple days before, just advising.
Okay.
And delegations, committee reports, Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. Any comments, Councillor Champagne, Deputy Mayor Rouiackers?
No, and just, was one complaint and they took care of it, the dam at, First and Drive, the beaver dam's getting big, and the guys went down, let a little more water out at a time instead of having a big bust that they usually have, so they're on top of it, so, and they're doing brushing right now, so. Yeah, they're getting ready for the lights to come down,
Any comments?
hopefully they never do.
Community Emergency Management Committee, there's none. Fire and Emergency Services Committee, Councillor Dana.
Yeah, two items just to speak about. The first one, as you indicated, the open house recruitment is a success. We had quite a few people there. We had also some applications, some interest, and a lot of people were talking to the fire department personnel with regards of possibly joining. So I think they ended up with 4 or 5 applications, so that's great. The other one is the East Ferris Firefighters Association is having a Halloween haunted house, and that's on October 31st at Astral Fire Hall between 5 and 8 p.m. Some of the things are going on there. There's if you go onto the municipality website, go onto the community tab, go down, there's coloring, so best coloring
Pages.
sorts.
Contest, yep. And there's a costume contest. And also, if they're asking to please bring a donation for the East Ferris food, the infant and food for the schools for the snack cupboard. That'd be greatly appreciated. List of the food items are listed under that website underneath the tab for the community. So there is a list of things that the schools are looking for their cupboard for the foods.
The donation money goes there too.
Don't know if,
It's not a school, it's a nonprofit organization.
yeah,
Under community, that has been formed and is headed by Chantal Ivani.
okay,
And it will be opening officially with the support of DSAT and
perfect.
Council Kelly, and it's opening in January.
My thing is, the thing is, I think some of the food gets distributed, so some of the schools get some of the food. So, and other places get food, so they have a little bit of an itemized, what they're looking for their cupboard donations, and so it's, yeah, I'm not sure about the monetary, would probably have to, I would assume so, so makes sense.
When they.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You can donate cash, that would be a little bit as well. Yes, that's
Is it like a food bank? Is it?
the for infant cover
Okay.
and for snacks for children at school. And so a community living in North Bay, they have a similar initiative. And so ours with the support of municipality, they were able to structure an agreement. Yeah, we'll officially open it in January.
Okay.
Perfect. Good. That's why I have.
Okay, then that's right. Oh, yeah, very good. On that note, we move to the planning advisory committee and comments.
Yes, just one item come up. Actually, it was nice to have a slowdown, Greg. Is that right? Yeah, that's so too. It's pretty straightforward, but we set a new record for 5 months. It was, but we had a busy summer and the committee did really well, so. I got a lot done. This was, that's one item.
We move to the Committee of Adjustment. I know there's minutes there. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, I think what he meant, yes, I'm sorry. You're right, thank you. We come to Recreation, Parks and Culture Committee, and there's a few items there. Just quickly to touch on some of them. You will see a resolution in the package from, there was a discussion about the lighting of the trees and coordinating activities with KRMT Wellness. In the past, KRMT have always organized, well, in the past, I think it would be their 3rd year, or maybe their 4th. They've held an artisan show, I guess you call it, in their establishment. And so they wanted to ensure that they combine their event with the lighting of the tree. And they were asking if there's maybe more that we might be able to do together. And maybe, for example, have hot chocolate. But my impressions are that the staff, after discussing the various options, feel that maybe as a first step, we have the tree lighting on Friday, December 1st. So the municipality would light all its Christmas trees in Memorial Park. And the KRMT would have the artisan show. And so we would operate both just separately, but at the same time. And hopefully next year we'd be able to build on that. We had identified particularly, for example, this hall could be used for hot chocolate. We could create maybe somewhat of a small activity around Christmas. But for this year, the recommendation, while it's in there, it's after discussion, I think the staff is recommending that we keep it to simply lighting our trees and aligning our activities with KRMT. So I believe we'll be removing that resolution. We won't be putting it forward. We simply, if there's any questions or comments on that.
I'll say a few words if you're
Yes,
okay
go
with
ahead.
that, Rush. So I had a meeting with Brandy Labonte, lots of good ideas from Brandy that came forward. The tough part with this is we're not too far away from December 1st, 5 weeks away. At this point, there's only so much you can do in terms of organizing an event like this. You don't want to organize something so quick that it's not a good event, right? So I think for us this year, it's the lighting of the tree. It might be the same day Brandy does her artisan event. And if we can put on a couple other things here or in the area to kind of supplement that, fine. But it's not a bad thing to think of for next year, like a bigger event. I do feel there's probably like, I've looked at other municipalities, they have organizing committees that kind of get together throughout the year to organize this. Not on a size like our should just say, but it takes enough organizing and some resources, right? So I think for this year, we'll, like Mayor Rochford said, we'll light the tree. Maybe it'll be the same night as Brandy's artisan night that she does, if we can do it together. And then maybe something else, and then look for a bigger event maybe next year. On a side note, I've been talking to our Director of Community Services, Greg. It seems like every year there's either, are we doing Canada or are we not doing Canada? Oh, we're going to do Saint Jean Baptiste Day this year. Are we not doing it next year? Are we doing something to team up with the carnival or are we not? I think we got to sit down and say, what can we chew in a year? And what are our annual events? It might be a good way to come to council and say, here's what we concentrate on, our February carnival. We do something with them. Do we do Canada Day or do we do Civic Weekend? And kind of then determine like, that's what we can afford to do, because another thing with this is budget. So if we decide to do a big Christmas event and you have to rent any equipment, now you start getting into that, and that's where this year we knew we didn't have anything in the budget to do something large. But that'll be something that comes forward maybe next year through the budget to say, what are our annual events? How much money do we want to put to it? Then you kind of know well in advance what you have to aim for and plan for, so. Yeah, because it's better, like for the small staff that we are, well, these one-offs that we have might not sound like they're tough to do. But it's still one more thing, right, that you just take on. I'll give you an example. December 1st is the day before Christmas party. Well, we know we've got 3-4 staff that are gonna do Christmas party that day, decorating the hall, doing the tables and that. So there's only so much to go around, right? So that's why this year we thought maybe it's just a smaller event, but yeah.
Period of time, December.
But I think as soon as it gets dark, 7 PM, I don't, 7 PM, that's good, 7 PM.
It'll be 4:30 by then.
I wouldn't recommend you.
I think you probably go earlier, because I think so. I mean, I think by 5:30 it's gonna dark, but
Yeah.
we'll come up within the next week or so, come up with what the night's gonna look like and get it out. Because we'd like to talk to Brandy as well to see if that's the night she's able to do her event. If not, it may not happen. Okay.
So the next item that we discussed was the beautification terms of reference in the committee. We had recall that the council had established this task force working committee. And basically part of that, their mandate was to establish the East Ferris Horticultural Club. Well, that has come together very quickly and it's really wonderful. As we know, the anglers and hunters have dedicated their clubhouse for the club to meet on a regular basis. And they've now had 5 games. In fact, last week, they had a guest speaker. So it's really wonderful. They are in the process of incorporating under UMAFA, which is something else that we had wanted, and forming a nonprofit corporation. They've established a bank account. So it's underway and there was basically 25 members as they go forward with incorporation. So tonight there's a few items as part of our agenda. In the minutes, in the correspondence, you will see a letter that the Memorial Park Gardeners are dissolving. And there are some of the members that will form part do form part of the East Ferris Horticultural Committee. But at the same time, we have a resolution that's here that we accept that the beautification committee be dissolved as such, and there will be an official formation of the East Ferris Horticultural Club. So if we can table the resolution now.
Member Secretary, Kelly, Councilor Champagne. Whereas at the regular council meeting of February 14th, 2023, council adopted the terms of reference for the Recreation, Parks and Culture Subcommittee, the East Ferris Beautification Project. And whereas as of October 17th, 2023, the Beautification Committee has fulfilled their purpose with the creation of the independent East Ferris Horticultural Club. And whereas the Recreation, Parks and Culture Committee resolved that the Beautification Subcommittee be dissolved as of October 24th, 2023. Be it hereby resolved, the council repeal the terms of reference for the East Ferris Beautification Project.
Any questions or comments?
So on this committee for horticultural club, how is it laid out? Is it
New people every after 4 years, or is it same people after 4 years? Is it the $250 is an annual thing? What's the terms of?
So there are terms of reference as part of the Constitution. They have to have a bylaw that describes what are the articles of incorporation.
It's not been
In November, it gets voted on by the members. And so at its next meeting, so that's part of that.
okay?
And then, but they have formed an executive. They have accepted, as I said, members who have paid. And so basically, and they're well aware of what were the work items that were formed part of the beautification terms of reference. And so they
standards.
the things that they will be working on. So correct. So that's part of it as well. Yes.
Okay. So then that's going to come to council?
It's separate. That's how it's done.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit. It'll be a nonprofit
So they
organization.
can do whatever they want.
Well, no, as a nonprofit, they'll have a board of directors.
Okay.
That they report to. If they do any work for the municipality, they will have to adhere to, and as they sign, for example, as members become part of the organization, they have to waive, that, you know, they recognize that they may have to work on some of the properties. So that there's a process underway to ensure that people get engaged in a proper
I
manner.
think it's a great idea. I just kind of want to know what's the parameters here with this. Okay?
So it is a club. It's going to be a club, like the anglers and hunters are a club. The horticultural club is going to be a club, a nonprofit organization, so that it can undertake activities on its own way.
So are they doing work? Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead, please.
So are they going to be doing, I guess we don't know the terms. I was just kind of wondering, like, are they doing work for the municipality or are they doing work on municipality grounds? Are they?
In Ontario, there's under the UMAFRA, there's almost 300 societies in various communities. And basically most of them, like in North Bay, they do work for the municipality. They can also do work on other community grounds that are not necessarily municipal. They can also do work on private grounds. And so basically the terms of reference, that's exactly what they include. They specify that the horticultural community a club is focused on beautification of East Ferris, both public, private, and community grounds. And so that is part of their mandate, is to work on various items. So yes, the intention is that they will be, for example, working to oversee Memorial Park in a similar capacity as the Memorial Park Gardeners. Memorial Park Gardeners were not incorporated. And so this will allow this group to potentially maybe apply for funds as well, which is something that the council wanted. So a capacity to maybe do their own fundraising, apply for funds. And so, yes, so it will, over time, there's a plan that needs to be developed. And we will see that plan.
And I apologize. I don't know probably enough of it, but the setup is municipal property, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So if this club goes and puts 4 or 5 trees on it, doesn't that have to come back to council here?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so that's what I was getting at.
yes, exactly.
So they have to come back to council
Yes.
to with some sort of direction of how they want to see it out.
Absolutely.
Okay,
No, I'm sorry, no.
okay, that's what I was.
Except if they do things on, private.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if it's a municipal property, then they're gonna have to, come to council, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. Correct. Yes,
I just have, and I agree, I know where you're going with this, and so anglers and hunters have their own insurance.
yes.
And so does the skate club, so does the fitness center. So this is separate from council. It's not a committee of council.
No, it's not.
So no attachment, no insurance and so forth.
No, except.
And I'm all for it, don't get me wrong, but I see they're asking for a request for sponsorship to aid in their fundraising efforts, but it's still a separate club.
Except in many, in municipalities across the province. So for example, in North Bay, the city, when they work on their, they indemnify them and they provide support. In many municipalities where there are horticultural clubs, the community can decide they do this, and that. It varies across the province.
Yeah, it's underneath the North Bay Mattawa Conservation.
Yeah, they've gone, so it varies, but the intention is to have a separate club, but for certain items, there may be indemnification when they work, for example, on our property, there may be certain things, but the intention is for them to assist us, like on our grounds with, items of horticulture. So yes, the Memorial Park, and potentially as we work on the South Shore as well.
Okay, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, yeah, in terms of reference,
What's the terms of?
and make sure they're covered by insurance.
Yeah, so they will be purchasing insurance, and under OMAFRA, when you register, you get covered by their insurance. So they've already gone through that route, identifying.
That's fine, thank you.
But they also got a sunset committee too, that's totally different.
Oh, they're dissolved, I believe, right?
The correspondence is the letter they've dissolved.
So the Cenotaph will be overseen by Frank Bovia and the East Ferris Horticultural Club, of which Catherine Howard is a member. will continue. And basically, it's to try to get more people involved because it was being left now to 2 or 3 people, and it's not right. We need to have more people, and it's not easy. So this is a process we had set as part of our beautification committee, that we wanted a process by which to engage volunteers, to find a way that volunteers can get involved. So that's part of it as well. Yeah. So on that note here, so that was the resolution for the dissolving of the task force, as I call it, subcommittee. And so all in favor? Okay. Before we move on to the next item, which is what I will, I declare conference on, I just want to touch on one item quickly. This evening, we're going to be looking at the nominations for the Sports Hall of Fame. And I do want to mention that at the same time, we also have an annual program that's called this annual sports recognition. And we did not get any nominations for that program. So one of the recommendations of our committee is that we look at potentially rebranding the annual sports recognition, because we feel that even amongst ourselves, we get both confused, like people, we don't appreciate, see the difference between annual recognition and the Sports Hall of Fame. So that is something that the Recreation, Parks and Culture Committee has recommended. And at its next meeting, it will be looking at revised branding for the annual sports recognition program. But we're very happy that we did get nominations, that the committee did recommend to council for approval. So before we do that, I will excuse myself for the discussion on the grant request or funding request. And then after that, I will come back and I don't need to leave, but I will to make everyone feel more comfortable.
Who's there?
Yes.
Your turn.
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
Kind of a mover and a seconder.
Have we told me that part?
I figured it.
Councilor Champagne. Whereas the East Ferris Horticultural Club has been created and is comprised of community volunteers, and whereas the club is in the process of incorporation as a nonprofit organization with the Ontario Horticultural Societies of Ontario and the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, and whereas the club's objectives are to plant flowers, shrubs, and trees on public property, as well as to promote and support gardening in East Ferris. And whereas the municipality received a letter of request for sponsorship to aid in the club's fundraising efforts. And whereas the Recreation, Parks and Culture Committee recommends to council that a donation of $250 be granted to the East Ferris Horticultural Club as part of their sponsorship program to assist in their fundraising efforts, be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
So it's a question, why is the mayor declared?
She's part of the whole horticulture.
They just did a 5-minute speech, so.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why she, that's all. I don't think it's a big deal, but.
I mean, what the mayor spoke to wasn't the actual sponsorship of the group. It was more to define why we've gone from a subcommittee of beautification to the horticultural club. So as part of this discussion, recommendation.
For definitions, we're define exactly whether it's,
Yeah, if I can add a couple points too, before you guys vote on this, if I may, Deputy Mayor. When the subcommittee, which was beautification committee, was formed, it's a council committee or a subcommittee, right? Part of that mandate was they wanted to come forward and create a horticultural club that would be independent from the municipality, would run on their own. They didn't think it would happen as fast as they did. Well, it's happened, right? There was enough members to get it going, people that were interested. So that's why they said, hey, let's get rid of the beautification committee, have a standalone horticultural club that is separate from the municipality. At the same time, we've heard from the Cenotaph Gardener Group, whatever their formal name is, that they're stepping aside. We've done it for quite a few years now, and they feel like they've, completed their mandate. Some of those members are joining the horticultural club as well. So a bit of a discussion we've had as staff now that we received this letter is who maintains that park next year? Because we have staff that cut grass, do maintenance. They're not gardeners. They don't plant. They don't dead shrubs. Okay. So we may have to then sit and in a bit of a discussion with the mayor, I said, I think it's part of the budget process where the mayor manager sits down with the group, says, what are you looking to do for the town? You get into like a memorandum of understanding or some kind of agreement. And then that, whatever works that has to happen for part of our budget process. And that's where the council approvals come in to allow for work to happen on the municipal property. So that's a bit of what was not discussed earlier, but it's a separate group. So that's that part of what the 250 is they're doing their first fundraiser, which is the spaghetti dinner. And there's some costs that are unexpected. I mean, you know, so they're looking to have a successful event. And that's what the 250 is for. It's a bit of a sponsorship for it. Good.
Okay,
I'd like to make another comment while you're talking about this. These people have been doing work there for, I want to say 10, 15 years. Yep. Be nice to recognize them, maybe ask them to come to a Christmas party. There's people there actually, and I recognize them at that point. I think it's nice to know that Alfred coming past.
Yes.
But because they're going to be recognized because well, they've done their retiring. I've been asking them to come so they can recognize.
So staff have discussed that, Council Champagne, that was the idea for this year. We were gonna look to go in camera for a discussion, so.
Oh, I didn't
look, but it, I mean. But yeah, I think they said they've done 20 years work. I mean, labor wise, we've saved significant amounts of money over the years, but it's not just that, it's looked really nice, the parts we get. Showpiece.
showpiece for a long time.
And whether our staff can do it or not, that may have not looked like what it does today. I mean, it changes by the season, it changes for Remembrance Day, it changes for.
And it's ongoing.
Yes, they put a lot of hard work in there on days where it rains, it's drizzling, it's cold,
I didn't know what they
you know, so. What's that, sorry?
I didn't realize they're gonna be in camp.
I was only thinking of that so that it's confidential before our Christmas party kind of.
Sure.
I'm not sure if it's really. Yeah, so no, great idea, for sure, Council Champagne. That's something that be done.
All in favor?
Sure. Mayor comes in, I'll leave. That's it, I'm out of here.
I think we're going in camera though,
Okay.
Yeah, it's the end of the-
Tell you in camera.
yeah, okay.
It's no problem.
Oh, we're gonna do the camera at the.
I put it at the end.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Okay, and so that concludes the report from the Recreation Parks and Culture Committee. Unless there, we,
Have one comment, if I could, I've heard nothing but compliments about the South Shore ramp.
oh, we-
People have been there. Excellent, and if you could, pass on the council's, if everyone's agreement, approval and thanks to the staff for doing above and beyond, because a lot of it was staff work. And saved council, saved the municipality money, and did one heck of a job.
mhm.
Can you pass it on, please?
Absolutely. Yes. If I may add, we are planning a formal event on spring. Normally, dedicated weekend is a lot.
Yep.
Program, so we can do it following that, but we are going to have a grand opening where
It's even been on Facebook a little bit, that people have used it and they can't say enough great things about it, so.
There was an article before, when it was being done, yeah. We were actually surprised because it's closed for the season, so for
Yes.
people to be using it, they shouldn't. I mean, in the end, there's just no docks.
No,
But the plan was to do it in daily spring, but hey, if it's positive comments. it's fine.
they're all positive and apparently it goes deep really quick, so. You're not gonna get your, sometimes you used to have to trailer your pickup truck in the waters. No, but kudos to the staff. Thank you.
If there should be other positive comments, if they're negative, we just say we're done yet.
Good line.
It's all been good.
That's for sure.
It's nice.
So, well, thank you so much. There be no further comments. We'll move to Economic Development Committee.
That's tomorrow?
Okay, yeah. Board reports, Deputy Mayor Leapris, Library.
The library, we just had a special meeting and it was to go for pay equity, which we adopted. And in keeping with what council had said, and then we've been working on our strategic plan, so that's been going on for the summer and into the fall.
Police Services Board. No comments, no comments. Castle Home, DSAB.
I've got a DSAB meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow, starts at noon, it's over by about 5 o'clock, so it's all afternoon, but it's ongoing and the budgets are coming up and so forth, so it's a busy time.
I do want to mention that there was the survey for youth, and we had said that we would provide comments. However, our CEO did have his meeting and did provide comments. He was well aware of our sentiments. And I do believe Deputy Mayor that you provided some comments this year. So give us more. If you want to say a word?
Work, so I participated with consultants, no other municipality was interested, so I did a one-on-one with consultants.
So
which was great.
those were DSAC consult, that were.
Yes, so it was a consultant that was hired by DSAP to look at basically children's services. So myself and the consultant had a good discussion, almost 50 minutes. It was basically, what are the concerns for East Ferris in terms of children's services? So I touched on a lot of the things we've discussed in the past, which came up in the information session that we had with residents of ASAP in the community. Some of them being along the lines of ECs that work for school board versus a daycare not getting paid equivalent. So how, attraction retention issues. The fact that we've got 2 small daycares in East Ferris and, as of August of last year, there was 110 children on the wait list. That's a wait list of years, right? We know that the wait list could be anywhere from 3 to 4 years right now before you get in. It's unacceptable in a community of 5,000, right? One of my concerns I put forward was that I think if, DSAP is looking at a 10-year strategy, we have a problem today. I'm not sure we should be solving it 10 years from now. If there's no money from the government to go ahead and build the infrastructure for daycares, maybe it's something that the DSAP's got to do and actually, put money and invest money into capital facilities that will, create spots for daycare. I know that doesn't solve the staffing issue, but a lot of that, the fact that, we've approached, myself and staff have approached private daycare operator to come to East Ferris, team them up with a developer to build a daycare. Like, we shouldn't have to get involved when a DSAB's overseeing children's services. That's not a municipal mandate, but we're doing it because there's a need.
Our kids are in trouble.
Yes, so we spoke to that. I spoke to the fact that when there's no staff resources, it seems to be that the East Ferris daycare is one that closes, but there's none in North Bay that are closing. And our residents have to drive their children to North Bay to go to daycare spots. You would think that remote communities, they would try to put the staffing in place so that smaller communities have those services. And then maybe in North Bay, they got to shuffle people around. It just seems to be opposite, that North Bay gets priority over the small communities around us. So things like that. I mean, we talked for quite a bit of time on how you can resolve it. I shared a resolution that council had developed and that we had shared, the fact that we wanted to kind of mirror the PSW program that had happened where textbooks were paid for, tuition was paid for. Why can't they be doing that with ECs to kind of fast track people through a program so that you have more staff available to start staffing the daycares and that. So it was a really good conversation. Got our point across. So I'm hopeful that the final product, the consultant's report, has some really good recommendations that'll help us. But
So they had no answers to give you at that time, though.
what it was only information gathering from consultants because they're coming up with a 10-year strategy for DSAP on how to resolve, I guess, our children's services crisis that we're all facing, right?
So this is the first time they had a meeting in the DSAP's district like this?
First time that I've been in, municipality's been invited to a consultation session on children's services. We had the info session in the fall, about a year ago. But that was more because of what had happened with the Ferris Glen daycare not being stopped in the summer and, last minute parents having to find a spot in North Bay. So I brought that up as well. You know what I mean? People shouldn't be finding out right before summer they don't have a spot. As a parent myself, you need to be planning months in advance. You don't want to be last minute. And no parent should be put in that place in these fairs. So what they did is last minute, they had to shuffle to North Bay. And this summer they were kind of concerned, is it going to open or is it going to close? So you had them going to North Bay. We shouldn't have that. There should be dedicated spots in these for childcare.
Yeah.
So the issue is we know it's a big issue and it's one that I've become, I guess, more passionate about. And I think as a municipality, we've talked a lot more about it this term than we've ever. But, if you jump in, you're now taking on the problem yourself when I don't really believe it's our mandate. But someone's got to fix the problem, right? So,
If I may, in addition to that, Jason, we certainly pay enough and get very little kickback for money.
Yeah.
Putting it on tape. And I've been at that from day one. The thing is, right now, we have an ideal opportunity because the CAO of District Social Services is stepping down. And there's in the interim, there's 2 or 3 people, it's being decided next few days. But there's a new CAO going to be hired, and I think it would be in our best interest to invite the new CAO as soon as they're named to a council meeting, a special council meeting, not a regular council meeting, and just have a voice our concerns, voice our needs and our wants, and how we've got a waiting list. And we're underutilized for the amount of money that the taxpayers are giving decent, quite frankly. And that's just putting it on the table. So that's my, and I've mentioned that in the past. The other thing that has come up, and I've mentioned it, is that in my opinion, and the opinion of Phenom and a few other groups that I touch base with, it's hard to say people are overeducated, but we used to have elementary teachers, grade 13, take years of teachers college with practical experience and be out teaching for 35 years, and they were successful. Now we need 2 years of education for EAs, and then we decide to pay them $18 an hour. There's something wrong. And I know people are going through to be a school teacher now, it's like 6 to 7 years before they graduate. Like, what has changed that drastically? And I think, in my opinion, to a certain extent, some of the higher academics are now in control of things. And I mean, there's been enough talk about the cash grabs at some universities, because you go to university, you go to one, you change universities, all of a sudden, no, those credits are no good. You have to do this, this, and this new one. You're still in Ontario. What's the difference? Anyway, that's just my personal opinion, but I've talked to other people and they seem to be in agreement. So there's a number of issues at stake, I think. But the bottom line is we need more representation in East Harsden, in our boundaries.
I was just to say thank you for the advocacy, right? And to take that time and to have that, one-on-one with them when others weren't at the table. So
I was surprised by that,
yeah,
that it's not, to me, it's gotta be an issue in other municipalities, but nobody's.
This session, I did appreciate that. It was open to other communities and we were the only ones there.
I got an email saying there's no longer gonna be a consultation session as a group because nobody was interested. So do you want to do a private session? He said, of course I am, I'm ready to go, right? So it was great because I got 50 minutes we didn't follow too much the row of questions. We went back and forth and all over the place, but it got the message out, right? So.
thank you so much.
Good, Jay.
That's great.
One thing that came up, I have to point it out, was they started talking, someone said, with boards like these, there's only so much money as well. We know we work within the municipal budget, okay? And they got to discussing like how you apportion that money. Like some is grant money, it's got to be spent on mental health, children, whatever. But there's some that's discretionary, I guess, as well. And one of the discussion, I'm no expert, right? But I've heard the term a lot about how much money is going into mental health and mental health and mental health, and it seems like more and more and more. But I've also heard we're not getting ahead of this. From a DSAP board level, where do you say we're tapped out on what's going into that pocket? We've not put enough into children's services or paramedical or whatever. Are we throwing everything to one side and we're not seeing results? And where do you start saying, okay, we're done or we're clawing back because we've got significant issues in child services across the district? Because I think the number from the info session, how many spots across the district was the wait list, like total wait list for children's services was huge. Well, if there's only so much money to go around, you got to start saying, well, where are we getting the biggest bang for that dollar and results? But that's from a board level. We can't, like as a municipality, we get an invoice. Here you go, 1.4 million a year. We pay it and that's it. From the board level, there's got to be more of a discussion around what are we doing now, right? And budget's coming. So that's why when I brought it up with them, there was a bit of a discussion on that as well.
I can speak from personal experience that I attended meetings 15 years ago, and there were so-called experts saying that you can close your hockey rinks because there's no more children going this way. Now we've had a serious. We've had a population explosion. Look at the new families and young families moving into East Ferris.
Mhm.
And no one, quite frankly, no one saw it coming. So-called experts. So they were not, there's been lack of preparation for what's now here. I mean, last 2 years ago, we had 50 new homes in 1 year. Unheard of. We are going leaps and bounds. Quite frankly, not all communities are enjoying the growth that we are enjoying for various reasons, but I mean, as we know, the demand is increased extremely high in East Ferris.
Do they at the board table discuss the portions of funding, like that?
Yes, in fairness, since I've been on the board and not that my presence was necessary, but I found that they've become far more concerned with the outlying areas such as East Ferris and so forth than just the core. Now, because, and in fairness to North Bay, the problems are in the North Bay core for the majority of their problems on DSAP, as Steve, you know yourself. They're experiencing problems such that we don't have, and hopefully we never have. But that's where a lot of the money's gone with the opioid and the homeless. So, and it's quite frankly, because we lack the services out here that would attract that part of the demographic. So, but the thing is, they have become, in my opinion, far more inclusive and far more concerned with the outlying. I mean, there was as we know, when the 3 or 4 communities got out of Castleholm, a lot of concerns there because it's like there's revenue going down the road and taking care of themselves. I think who knows why they did it, but obviously there were economic advantages for them doing it. But when you take away from the core, because there are, and quite frankly, I mean, if you look at some of the places that are included, they're a long ways from North Bay. So, yeah, there's a lot of, I found them, I found the board very open and transparent, but I do think it's in our best interest to have a meeting with the new CAO.
Will you keep us informed? Would all council agree that we would welcome that opportunity?
I'll keep you apprised, and I think a private meeting with them and just we'll lay out our concerns beforehand as a council and our senior staff. And then we approach and say, and 3 or 4, never mind, we don't want to list 2 or 3 major concerns. Early childhood care has got to be near the top of the list, if not the top of the list.
When we had our meeting last time, I recall we had done a Zoom, it felt very cold, so it was difficult in that sense. And all of the members, the managers of the staff were invited to be part of it. And it was more like it turned into us. Please ask your questions to the appropriate person. And it didn't result in what we were looking for. And so frankly, it's an opportunity for us to resume.
I think we invite the CAO and we invite the chair of the board.
Yeah.
And we're not meeting with the committee.
No.
We're meeting with 2 people.
Because I think the purpose of the first meeting, which kind of was scheduled, got canceled for pandemic and happened about 2 years later.
Yes.
Was we pay at that time 1.3 million a year. What does our community get for that? More stats on, we're not going to get names of people on, I don't know, ODSP, all of this, but what's allocated to our community? Instead, we got, here's all the managers and ask them what services we provide.
No.
We weren't prepared.
Wasn't the exact.
We don't need definitions of all the departments.
No.
We've got 2 or 3 major concerns, and that's, I think, that's where our focus should be. Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Nice, very good. Other comments from other boards?
Help Unit. Back in September, Dr. Jericho basically started this process 3 years ago, succession planning for a new medical officer. So the board in September approved Dr. Zimbalati as a new MOH, but that had to be approved through the ministry first, has to go through the process. So I got a letter on Friday From Sylvan Jones, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Health. Dear Mr. Champagne, I am writing in respect to the Board of Health appointment position of Medical Officer of Health of North Bay Parry Sound. I am pleased to approve the appointment of Dr. Zimbalati for the North Bay Parry Sound District Unit. Approval is granted in accordance with clause 64C of the Promotion Act. So she is passed by the province. So it'd be nice to send her something acknowledging her position. And plus she's an East Ferris resident. So nice to do that. Okay. I have for that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mattawa Conservation is tomorrow.
Okay, all right. The council home, we had our presentation at our last council meeting and we are continuing, other municipalities are still having their meetings this week. And so after that, there's going to be a regrouping to see where we stand and maybe some next steps. So that's where things stand at this point. Departmental reports, resolutions, there are none, no motions, bylaws. We come to this first, second, and third reading on bylaws for speeding.
Yes, so the last meeting was the recommendation from the Public Works Committee to reduce the speed limit on Berlin and Eglinton. So that's just the bylaw along with that. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Kelly and Councillor Johann. Whereas Council for the Municipality of East Ferris is it expedient to pass 3 readings of the following bylaw at this session. Be it resolved that a bylaw to authorize the following speed limits on certain highways within the municipality of East Ferris be read a first, second, and third time, passed in number 2023-45. And that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Favor? Carrie,
Can I make a comment on this issue that we were talking about? I don't usually follow Facebook very well, but it's been an issue for the last couple of days about a vehicle on Gilmet Road. Speeding and close calls with buses and passing on Gilmet Road. You can let the police know maybe to take a look at it. And if you'll see the comments on there, they describe the vehicle and everything on there. So I don't want to disclose that in public, but maybe they can take a look at it and see before something happens.
I believe it's been raised with the East Ferris bus line because it's the actual driver of the bus. And so concur to your point, yes.
Yeah, there's a black vehicle that's
Right.
passing.
When passing the buses, what the bus driver said that the vehicle continued to wait.
Yeah. So maybe.
I'm glad that we realized it was one of the neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah.
The comments, so that's good.
Thank you. Okay, that being said, we now move to item B. That's the agreement to enter into an understanding with the municipality of Township of Putnam Cameron, municipality of Calvin, and the municipality of Matawan with East Ferris for a building inspector.
A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Johann and Councillor Champagne. Whereas Council of the Municipality of East Ferris deemed it expedient to pass 3 readings of the following bylaw at this session. Be it resolved that a bylaw to enter into an agreement between the Township of Papineau Cameron, the Municipality of Calvin, the Municipality of Matawan, and the Municipality of East Ferris for a building inspector to enforce the Building Code Act be read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered 2023-46, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Just a question for the seal. This is the same group pretty well every year.
That's correct. For Shane Conrad?
Yeah.
It's more of a backup if we don't have Tech Breed and Paul. Before it was only Paul. But it actually happened this year. They both went to a training session together, so we're left with no one if we needed inspections. And the agreement expired, I believe, in 2020, Carrie. So this is just bringing back the agreement in case we need an inspector.
Okay.
All in favor? They won't carry. Thank you so much. And then we come to correspondence. And so on that note, Deputy Mayor Liakis, would you like to point to any specific items?
Just noting Blue Water, childcare availability. I think we're doing advocacy. I'm not sure if that would be 13B. If we should bring that forward or if we are doing enough on our own, right? It was a letter to, so. Yeah, so bring it forward. Okay, all right. I think the township of Archipelago is interesting. I'm not sure if it's related to East Ferris specifically about cigarette producers' responsibility. It's one of those things that I hate when cigarette butts are dumped on the road. It drives me crazy. But I will defer to somebody else's intelligence about that to see if it is pertinent to East Ferris. I just wanted to mention that there is the Poppy campaign is starting, and that is on October 27th at 10 a.m. So, and then H, I think is an important, so that is Fixing Long-Term Care Amendment Act till death do us part. So I wanted to bring that forward. And then we've already talked about I, so.
If we come back to the item on the cigarettes, when at this point, the Committee for Public Works is looking at packet of responsibilities, like as we look at the blue boxes, that is part of your mandate. Would that item fall part of, would it be included in there in a sense? Because it's packaging or no?
I don't think so. This is,
No.
I think this is littering on the,
Literally.
and
this cigarette butts are not classified as. So this is,
are they?
this is different. This is regard to the Great Lakes and filtrations and different things. This is
Yeah,
not
I
what you're
didn't-
thinking.
Right,
It's planned.
right, okay. I didn't think so when I read it, but it's one of those things that it bothers me.
So.
But I knew that was
Cigarette on
going
the
to-
car, it's not littering. Underneath the traffic.
No.
Okay.
I feel the same.
I know, I got you. I got you. I just tried to-
But I didn't think that was part of us, so. Right, so I didn't think it was really an East Ferris thing, but
I guess it's revolt.
I apologize. I had not looked closely at Catherine 5. Had not appreciated what that was. Has anyone looked at this closely? Do we support this? I apologize.
Which one's it?
That's Fixing the Long-Term Care Amendment Act.
it's about a resident in Cambridge who is separated from his wife, and he's been advocating to be with, and so basically due to our crisis in our long-term care pardon me?
It can be split.
They can be, because if there's not a space for both of them, and I mean, if you've been with your partner or your husband, wife for, decades and then can't be together, the mental health implications are huge, right? And it's already a difficult thing. And then also the stress on children and grandchildren trying to support and the nurses having to and the PSWs. So
I can speak to that. Just when I was on the Castle Home Board, what happened with COVID was that depending on mobility and mental acuity, you were sometimes 4 people in a room, sometimes 2 people in one room, obviously different beds and so forth. When COVID hit, that's why it spread so quickly in our long-term care facilities. So now the mandate has changed where it's only 1 person, if I'm not mistaken, in a room and in a bed, and there's a shortage. That's one of the reasons, because there are no longer 4 people in a quad type of thing, where apparently it was normal before. So I think that might be what's going on. And I know that this has happened because I know locally that there's some people and they come through and said, well, basically, wherever there's an opening, some people have to be positioned and not where they like to be, and there with a supportive family, which is like in your waning years. So I hope it's needed addressed. I think it's, in support of, I think it's worthwhile supporting that. But I think that's one of the reasons the back, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not saying it happens everywhere, but I know it was a back with COVID. We cast the whole board.
I think that was a position that they had before COVID, that you couldn't have the ward rooms
Well,
longer.
it gets too expensive, and that's one of the reasons that, I mean, if you look at the costs of the new building for Castle Home, that's one of the reasons given, because they're all individual spaces.
And this is certainly something from a human perspective that we would support, right? Wanting spouses to remain together as if when possible. And that's what this letter is suggesting.
But don't they try to do that anyway? To try to get them together?
They do.
This is a one-off because of COVID and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's,
I think it's all because of the crisis. It's not just not enough.
It exacerbated an existing situation, which was already a little dire because of lack of beds, quite frankly.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you.
thank you. That's good. And you said, so there was a third item, I apologize.
I just had B,
Yeah.
the childcare, so we touched on that.
And
And then just mentioning the stop of the poppy. So that was October.
that's right, that's what it was, yes.
And the fixing.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll bring back item H and item B. Thank you. Why? I mean, I already had that. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
I've only got A. I thought it was appropriate when Premier Ford answered our request and so forth concerning the Northern Ontario School of Medicine. I'm just surprised that the Minister of Health hasn't replied to this date, so.
Mhm.
Because I know Phenom and most of the boards across Northern Ontario. And the intention with it was that new doctors and aspiring doctors would be educated in the north and realize the great lifestyle we have up here. And stick around rather than being educated and going or just staying in Southern Ontario. So, and I know it's worked. That's why, in fact, in the last couple of years, they've expanded the number of medical beds available in the hospital, in the training. So correspondence works at times with the legislature. This is one of those times. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councillor Brown,
So good.
Councillor Champagne.
I'm good.
Myself, I do want to recognize the letter from Memorial Park Committee that we discussed it previously, but it'll be important that next year, as part of our volunteer recognition program, that we recognize these volunteers. And so keep a note of that we need to recognize the work that has gone on for 20 years. I was surprised that time goes by fast.
When you get home this evening, you can watch the tape recording.
Okay. Oh, no. Okay, on that note, we move to approval of correspondence.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Akers and Councillor Duran. Council approved the correspondence and information as stipulated with the agenda of October 24th, 2023.
In favor? C'est bon, Carrie, thank you so much. We heard for support the resolution from Councillor Grimsby. And we had recalled that we had had a discussion on this matter. And we appreciated that Deputy Mayor Ruyaker sent us additional information on what is a livable wage. And you did great research. Personally, I was not familiar to the degree. And so the information you provided was excellent. And I think if all council members had a chance to read it, I open it up to, so basically now before us is the desire of whether or not we provide support to this particular letter and the support for the living wage initiative and direction. Any comments or questions? Please, Councillor Kelly.
It's basically, you're getting down to minimum wage, is that not correct?
Well, minimum wage is $16.55.
Yeah.
The livable wage for the north is $19.70. So when you even mention, an ECE is making $18, she's, or he is below, almost $2 below the living wage.
The only, well, I've got two or three problems with the motion the way it is, but with inflation and the mortgage rates and the food costs and everybody worried about putting food on the table, this is a 19% raise and it'd be a raise for people who are not working. Because, and apparently from what I understand from employers in the area, there's a shortage. They can't find workers. So I think this would just add to the inflation rate. The mortgage rates is a worry for like 40% or 45% of mortgage holders. And you've got food costs rising up at 10 and 9%. So a 19% raise for people who are not working right now. Who's going to pay for it? The taxpayers are strapped now.
Well, and I think it's what Mr. Trache said before, is that we pay for it at some point. It's going to be paid in the healthcare system, it's going to be paid in the legal system. It is, so families are being strapped, right? Because, and so if they're raising children in poverty and they're worried about, where they're going to get money, Ontario Works, EI, ODSP don't cover things. So it is really looking at having a platform for people to know, I don't have to fall behind this, right? And on Ontario Works and ODSP, you can't work, right? Because somebody's monitoring you to make sure that you don't work. With this, you have a basis. So in Quebec, they have, you get a base of $14,000 and some odd dollars. And then you can go to work and make an additional 14. If you make above, then they start clawing back the base, right, by 55 cents per dollar. So it gives people this, you can't go below this, right? And they can count on that money. They're not monitored for it. And then the caseworkers are actually looking to support and advocate for them, finding jobs. So I'll tell you my personal experience this past 2 weeks since I've sort of had this on my radar, and I've had it on my radar before, is that I've had about 6 people who want to work, but they can't work. They need retraining. They need to have different things. And so they're in between. So one woman has had, how do I want to say this? She is being diagnosed for a disability, right? But she is not diagnosed yet and she can't work. And her EI has run out and she is in between and falling through the cracks. This is something that would just say, you're going to make $14,000. She can work part-time, but she can't work part-time all the time, right? So she can have that surety that you don't fall through. So it is changing the system that we have to make sure that it's less monitoring. It is more humane. People know that this is how much you're going to get, and they can go out and work and do jobs. They can go to get some education, right? So it's just providing a livable base. And just today, here is AMO with income security. So they call it all different types of things, but they're talking about providing for the unhoused a base shelter amount, right? And this would be along the same line, right? So everybody is trying to work at this at different ways, right? But it's just saying to our Ontario government, we need to look at this. That's my point.
Councillor Champagne?
I got a problem with that. You got a handful of people which you feel bad for. They fall through the cracks. But when you open it up, you're gonna have more issues than you have right now, because people are gonna say, hey, we got funding, we can get, not doing anything. Hey, we got funding, we can, you got a gas program that you can go and get help with for employers. It'll give you a percentage of their wages to go and help to train them and so on. If we open this up, I can't see the government doing this. I can't see the provincial government or the federal government say, we're going to give you more money if you stay home and try to acknowledge how you're going to react in life. If we keep doing that, nobody will want to work. That's just my feeling. Again, don't get me wrong, but when I was young and we had to get a job, and we had to do something, we had to work for it. You found a job, you found a way to make it work. Find a job and you talk your way into a job, even if you apply to get a job because you want to stand for your family. By doing this, I feel it's going to go the other way. It's going to make it worse, and it's going to fall under DSAB. It's going to fall under us. We're going to pay for it. The healthcare is going to pay for it. I think it's going to multiply instead of preventing it. That's just my feeling. That's from years of being in business, years from working for the odd today, work for but if you're not willing to get down and dirty and do some things that you may not want to do, or a job that you may not want to do, at least you're trying. And you get acknowledgement, you get expertise.
So in 2017, 2018, can I speak? Sorry, I'm just jumping in. 2017, 2018, the Ontario government did have this project that was supported by a document by the Honorable Hugh Segal, who was looking at a basic income, living wage, whatever. There's so many different names about it. So they did a program for 2017, 2018. It was closed down early, but in that the year that they were looking at this, people kept working. So they're not looking for a handout. They're looking for, just give me some space to breathe. So I know that I don't go below a cap. And they kept working towards better jobs. So it gave them ability to work towards something else, to go back to school to get education. The people who were on this program were smoking less and drinking less. So that was something that they had seen, right? So we know that alcohol intake and smoking are bad for our healthcare system. There's a reduction in stress, increase in confidence, less hospital visits from these people who are on this pilot project. There were taxes that were collected, so they're actually contributing to our society. So it's not a handout. So the additional amount is taxable. And so this is only short-term data in a year. But the thing is that if we give people support, there are people who will. Right? There will be people, right? But a majority of the people who are on this program kept working towards better jobs, trying to make their life better because you're not making that much money. It's hard to be on Ontario Works and ODSP. You're not making a lot of money and it's stressful, right?
And I replied, there's so much more than you're actually taking a problem like this big and you're actually just kind of circling that problem right there. There's a lot more to the problem in today's society. That's from 2017. I read Hugh Segal's article. From there till now, it's totally different. You can't, that pilot project is outdated because now you've got marijuana that's legalized. You got so much other things that now we went through COVID. The government has given out money. You've had people on ODSP before and they've, gone out and do cash jobs and everything to, they've a lot of the programs and assistances have been abused. I know that, you look at different money brackets. Some people are paying already 43% of their paychecks. We can't continue this. You can't continue to keep coming back to the same people that are actually paying for the programs. There's so much more about this. I don't think this is our kitchen. This is not municipal. This is something a little bigger than what municipal. I agree with you if you want to advocate for this, but this is not municipal and this is something way bigger. And this is something that has you can continue this conversation for a week and it's still going to be bouncing, things all over the place. There's a lot of the things that you touched on, I wish I want to comment on, but I don't want to be here all night talking about stuff about ODSP and Turner Works and disabilities and everything. There's some of it, Lauren, where some people, could really benefit for certain programs that are probably been abused. But anyway, look at how many new people came into Canada, over 1 million people. So does 1 million people qualify for something like this? Because there's people, their families.
Well, they wouldn't be on for very long
There's
because
people
they,
with certain paychecks that just cannot take any more of their paychecks.
Okay, let's have a
That's all.
conversation here.
So you can't, well, I have a
Yeah,
point.
you-
So you cannot take any more out of, say, my paycheck because, hey, I'm one of those people that is 43%. And we just took in 1 million people. So now after, say, 6 months or something, or 8 months or a year, now I gotta start paying for all these other people. Well, like there's a lot of things that needs to be looked at and revamped. I agree with that 100%. But right now, it's just with this document here that you're pushing forward. I got some issues with that, but anyway.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Final word.
okay, so you know what, I get it. This is not a municipal, but a lot of the resolutions are not municipal, right? We're asking the province to explore it. We're asking the province to look at it and see what is out there. So this is not saying that we have to do this. This is that people are struggling and
Oh, I know, everybody's struggling.
So if it's, go ahead, finish.
so this is just asking the province to look at this again, right? And AMO and the North Bay Perry Sound Health Board has had those resolutions out there asking for income support. So this is just asking for the province to look at the issue.
Wait, go ahead.
So where's the province gets the money?
Well, they may look at this study and
No,
find it.
where's the province gets the money, their money to run?
Well, I get it, but then they look at it, right? That they look at where they're going to get the money. They are always studying issues.
You know, I'm saying I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just said there's a bigger conversation at the end of the day about this and whether we
Right.
agree to disagree, but it's just,
Your heart.
yeah, absolutely. It's just, absolutely. It's just the direction of all this. It's,
And I see people who want to work,
so do I.
who want to do better and just need a livable wage that they know that they don't go underneath it. And then, so anyways, I apologize for saying it.
Don't apologize.
No.
It's a good discussion, healthy discussion.
And it has brought on a number of locations, the issue of homelessness, the issues that are at DSTAT. And so, I mean, these are people in our community that are on Ontario works that face these issues. And so basically, I mean, I think it's a very relevant discussion. Personally, I'm not aware of the association of the livable wage association. So you've introduced that to maybe information of your, so thank you for doing that. And I don't think we have the support to move the Grimsby resolution forward, but we have become more informed. And please keep us.
Do we not vote on it?
Yes, we can certainly vote on it.
Okay,
Okay.
so I would actually like a recorded vote on this.
Okay, so we will,
Hang on, just, you have to have a move in a second.
yes.
Oh, I'm
Can I?
apologize.
Floor, please. Deputy Mayor Akers.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion. Yes, wait. Okay, so we move now to proposing the strong mayor powers. That was another item that was brought forward. Anyone wish to comment on this item? Wait, Councillor Kelly?
Just, I look at our system, and it's worked well for how many years, and the basis of it is way back in Greek times, when there was an amphitheater and the people that were going to vote showed up, they voted. Quite frankly, when they started taking powers away from a group of council and putting it in one person's hands, and I hate to say it, but I think some democracy seems to be going that way, and I think it can evolve into a dictatorship. I prefer the system that we grew up with, and it's worked for how many years, so I want no part of it. Thank you. As I say, I'm in favor of
This resolution.
the resolution. I'm in favor of the resolution, but I'm not in favor of taking away powers from individual councils.
Other comments?
Wait, a comment. May I ask you a question, Mary? You're the mayor. Would you want that kind of power?
No, I support the.
Yeah, I agree. This doesn't make sense.
I appreciate the direction, the message that our government wanted to send, that housing is important and we need to, but certainly I believe too, as I've heard mayors say, that there's, we need to work within the system to bring about change though. Other comments? So do we support this resolution?
I'll make a motion that we support it.
Do I have a seconder? Senator Trahan. Council of the Municipality of East Ferris supports the town of Aurora's resolution regarding opposing strong mayor power.
All in favor? The next one was and we had said that we had passed a similar resolution before, but I think, so basically, we would be in support of this, I would think, given, you want to put it forward?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Champagne, Councillor Kelly. Council of the Municipality of East Ferris supports the town of Midland's resolution regarding catch and release justice in Ontario.
Favor? Thank you so much. I simply want to see, when I touched on the police services board, when I thought that there was an incident, a stabbing incident at a Lucky 13, and I thought first that it was in our community, and so I was quite concerned. But anyway, I'm concerned that it's happening elsewhere, but not in East Ferris. Resolution for the Corbeil Club Action 50+.
Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Trahan and Champagne. Whereas Club Action 50+ East Ferris was successful in a $150,000 funding application submission to the Ontario Trillium Foundation for renovations to the kitchen at the Corbeil Park Hall. And whereas the kitchen renovation project is estimated to cost $168,000. And whereas the Corbeil Park Hall is available for use to the municipality at no cost and to the general public and various user groups for rent. And whereas the municipality of East Ferris is the owner of the Corbeil Park Hall and deems it beneficial to invest in this asset to the benefit of the community and its users. Be it hereby resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of East Ferris approves a cash contribution to approximately $18,000 to the kitchen renovation project. And further, that the municipality agree to assist with cash flow in the project should the need arise and at the discretion of the municipal treasurer.
A weak question?
I'm the one who brought this forward in your discussion on. Steve wasn't here, so could you please? Steve, know how we're doing this.
Yeah, so we had received an update from Club Action 50+ from Way White staff indicating that they received a building permit to go ahead with renovating the kitchen of the Corbeil Park Hall. That applied to the Trillium Foundation for the maximum $150,000. They figured they could do within that budget, but then over time, there's been additional costs. So what they were planning to do, Councillor Trahan, was go dig into their investments for the difference. And I brought this forward to council at the last meeting that I didn't feel comfortable with them doing that, considering we own the asset, the hall. I mean, they didn't have to apply to Trillium for 150. So it's a huge help to us. We end up with a brand new kitchen for 20 grand. We might help them cash flow it, but from then I had a discussion with Lynn Waywhite and they were actually given, a bigger chunk up front from Trillium. So I don't believe that we'll have to assist them, but council had agreed that we would assist them if the need arise to cash flow it. But in the end, they're doing a brand new kitchen. And we'll end up contributing about 18,000 difference. So that was the discussion at the last meeting.
You want to make sure that you're here.
Yeah, no, I
And make sure
appreciate
that it's
that.
all the same umbrella.
And I think we did the layout of the kitchen, I think that was brought to us.
Beforehand or no?
No,
Oh, I would think of the arena maybe.
Brand application, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and Jason brought it forward, and it makes it right that can't lay it all on them. They're willing to, but I think it's right that we put something into it. It's gonna be hard, it's our bill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
but they're working on it now. They've been working on it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
On favor? Come on, Carrie, thank you so much. Approval of accounts payable.
Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Roy Akers and Councillor Champagne. Council approved the general accounts for the municipality of East Ferris as indicated in the check register dated October 24th, 2023 in the amount of $308,558.97.
All in favor? All carried. Other business, there'll be none, we're going into in camera.
Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Roy Akers, Councillor Champagne. But this meeting proceeds to in-camera session at 7:35 PM under section 239 to subsection B of the Municipal Act in order to address a matter pertaining to the 2023 Sports Hall of Fame program nominations, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
All in favor? I think, yeah. Okay,